Good evening and welcome to another episode of House Flies Live. Myself, David, and my co-host Sean here, bringing you in the episode 4, I believe, with Kinnegar Brewing, Rick from Kinnegar, and we've got Mark from Grand Cru Beers to hold his hand. They'll be on pretty shortly. We've got some exciting guests, and I'll just pass you over to Sean there, and Sean, you'll fill in who's coming up later on the show.
Yeah, we got two of probably our most frequent visitors, two brothers, John and Connor. They're going to be coming through later on this evening. And then also Seamus. We're going international this week. So Seamus, originally from Cork, but a very talented musician, absolutely awesome. We're going to have some live music at the end, and it's going to be a treat. Leon, we are not late. We are on time. But thank you very much for that comment. And 3 great beers coming up. We've got first up is Scraggy Bay, which is pretty much a great starter. Followed up by Shuttle Bucket, which is one of the new ones with it's a double rye IPA. And then at the end, it's going to be a barrel conditioned rye export stout. That one I even showed the bottle, the growler last week, and that was absolutely a treat. I cannot wait for that one.
Fantastic! It all sounds a fantastic lineup tonight. I mean, guests and beers. I mean, personally, I think Kinnegar. I mean, every time I mention Kinnegar recently, even with we had Cathal from Rascals on last week, and he was singing their praises, wasn't he? You mentioned Kinnegar to anybody in the beer world, and it's off their lips straight away. It's like Kinnegar are the trendsetters. They're the standard. They're the standard, really, aren't they? They truly are.
Yeah. I mean, I love my big IPAs, and you know what? Big Bunny Thumper last year, they brought out Double Bunny. I mean, I think Double Bunny was probably my favorite, but I mean, all of them like really good. Can't complain about anything.
I was doing a bit of research earlier. The core range alone, there must be, I think, I'll look it up there in a second, but there must be like 9 beers or something in the core range. Like, it's a huge core range. And then you've got the seasonals. And on top of that, you've got the Brewers at Play project. And on top of that, the new Barrel Age project. So there's like the amount of beer coming out of that brewery is phenomenal. I suppose, look, I suppose we'll get into sport. We might touch on the rugby later on. We know we've got rugby. Ireland are playing England tomorrow.
It was better. It was better last week. Probably still not a complete performance. Obviously, the big news this week was CJ announcing his retirement.
Exactly, yeah. Going back to do a bit of farming.
I'm a little bit sad. The boy just wants to go back and farm. It's interesting, though. I mean, he's still young to the point where I hope he still continues to play in South Africa at some point, because he still has something to offer. But if it is the end, you know what? He's been great. He's been absolutely phenomenal.
Ireland's most successful contract player, I'd say, without a shadow of a doubt. You know? Yep.
100%. There was a bit of discrepancy this week when Dan Dio came out and said that's a guy who came up with the Pacific Islands documentary. He came out and said it makes mockery of the game.
I read that. Yeah.
I think it was taken incorrectly. I think I don't think he meant what he said, but obviously he's trying to champion the fact that the Pacific Islanders should be able to, run out for the Pacific Islands at a eventual time. But anyway, big changes in the Ireland team. I think there were 6 changes, and England have moved Elliot Daly to outside centre. But I think the one thing we can all agree on is we hope that England gets stuffed tomorrow. So
exactly.
Cheers to St. Patrick's.
I like to look at the Ireland team. I like the bench. I mean, look, we are due a big performance, and I hope it's tomorrow. Let's put it out of the fire. Come on, Ireland.
Yeah.
All right. We won't even touch on the other bits and pieces if we're going to touch on sport-wise. We'll get the boys on. They're waiting there. We'll introduce Rick Levere. Quite appropriate. Rick Green. Translation, I think. We'll call him Rick Levere by his proper name. And Mark Cadden from Grand Cru Beers. He's our industry slot this week. But I think Mark is going to be on from the start. We might kick him off if it gets a bit boring, but we'll keep him on as long as possible. I think he's probably here to support his fellow Donegal man. I'm afraid that the boys down in Cork will destroy one of his biggest brands. But no, we wouldn't do that because we love Kinnegar. Anyway, we'll bring the two boys on. I think we're ready, are we? All right.
Let's do it.
That's Mark. Evening, Mark. And good evening, Rick.
Evening, fellas. How are things?
Was our introduction satisfactory there?
Yeah, Mark's been holding my hand for 8 years now, so it's absolutely correct.
Aw, cute, man. That's like sweet.
What can I say?
Well, it's completely true. We've without a good distributor, it doesn't matter how good your brewery is.
Exactly.
100%.
So and a distributor is a good distributor is somebody who really knows their beers and is able to kind of, I think take what quality's out there and make sure that there's a window for it.
Exactly. We're definitely going to try to find out how Mark gets around. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Say that again, John.
We're going to try to find out how you get around town.
Ah, yes. Walking mainly, but sometimes driving. Good.
I suppose we better introduce you, I suppose, properly, Rick. For everybody, we know Kinnegar Brewing Company. Myself, Mark, and Sean, we all love Kinnegar. There's probably a lot of people watching that might know Kinnegar. They probably love Kinnegar, but there might be a few people that don't know who Kinnegar are, don't know who you are. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit in the brewery?
Sure. Yeah. As you said, I'm Rick the Green, otherwise known as the Bear.
That's sticking, I think.
Yeah. We opened the brewery we started brewing commercially in 2013. Quite obviously green to the brewing industry, the brewing sector. My background is quite mixed. For most of my life, I worked as a graphic designer. Became interested in brewing. I don't really have any kind of. Everybody says, when was the moment when the light switch kind of clicked on? You decided to go into brewing. I don't really have one. We just became more and more interested in it, and one day you realize that you're actually developing a brewery, and then at some point, your accountant is kind of saying, like, there's more blood behind you than in front of you, so you just kind of keep going with it, and it's one thing has kind of followed, and we are where we are today. So for about 2 years, we did operate a small pilot facility. So from 2011 to 2013. And that's where we definitely cut our teeth. We taught ourselves how to brew. We learned how to brew, producing at about 100 liters at a time. We had we were able to kind of coax some off licenses in pubs. A couple of one pub in Dublin, one pub up here in Donegal. 2 off licenses in Dublin to basically act as beta product testers for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows Crossroads, one of our beers, you'll see on it. It references McHugh's. There's Sean's got the can there. Yeah. It references
McHugh's. Sean has all the
McHugh's.
cans there tonight. I'd say he's probably got the full lineup.
McHugh's were one of our I would say our one of our beta testers on the off license side, the off premise side. And then one of the others was the Black Sheep in Capel Street in Dublin. So yeah, about 2 years of kind of, I suppose, soaking up everything we could, learning everything we could, and at the same time planning, the move from a pilot facility to a commercial facility. We were finally up and running a commercial facility about 2013, and that was, a really nice little brewery that we had built just up behind where I live, so only about 100 meters from where I am right now. We operated out of there for about 4 years. The original brewery was designed to produce kind of about a maximum of about 100,000 liters a year. And I think by the time we left, we were producing about 400,000 liters in it.
Okay.
So, we kind of had to kind of squeeze in additional equipment, additional tanks. We were operating on a very labor-intensive shift system. We had one person was starting at 4 a.m. and working until about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Another person was coming in at about 1 or 2 and working till pretty much midnight.
Jeez.
And it was the only way that we could keep the product flowing through. It was really backbreaking.
Brilliant.
And certain beers also being a little bit more difficult to make, Rust Bucket and Black Bucket being 2 of them because of the rye content. There were one or two occasions where the morning shift met the evening shift on the the wrong end of the handover. Somebody arrives at 4:00 in the morning, and the person from the second shift the previous day was still trying to get things cleaned up.
Okay.
So, we said we can't keep doing this. It's not humane. So about.
Can I cut you just for 1 second, Eric?
Sure.
Let everybody get their Scraggy Bay into their glasses who are watching. That's our first beer while Rick is filling us in. And we will talk about the Scraggy in a few seconds there, just in case they're watching and wondering what are we going to be tasting. Yep. It's not that we're under time for pressure time or anything, but continue, Rick. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So, it became, it just became unsustainable to keep producing in that sense. So we looked to expand. We tried to actually keep things here in Rathmullen. We're about 20 minutes north of Letterkenny on Lough Swilly. Didn't work out in the end. So we ended up, we found a location just on the edge of Letterkenny, and we moved the main body of the production there in 2017, almost exactly 4 years ago.
Okay.
And began producing there. I thought after kind of, starting the first brewery that, going a second time around would be a lot easier. And, you kind of learn from the first set of mistakes. You kind of say, okay, I won't do that again. And, at least I did learn from the first set of mistakes, but the second time around, I made a whole new set of mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I suppose, par for the course as well. But yeah, we've been quite happy in the new facility for the past 4 years. We're finding, we will probably talk about it a little bit more, but, I think, maybe surprisingly, I think the pandemic has actually been good for the craft beer sector. It's people are I think, people are sitting at home. They're looking for, maybe a little bit more excitement. They're looking for something to kind of, break up the week a little bit more.
Yeah. People definitely drinking a hell of a lot more beer, I think.
Well, they might
be drinking 3 nights, 4 nights, but they might have been drinking 2 heavy nights, or I think they're definitely spreading out their nights. Definitely.
Yeah, it could be.
I actually think it's not necessarily the case. I think maybe some of us are drinking a little bit more than we were. I think overall, I don't think we're drinking as much. I think people don't realize just how much people drink in the on-trade.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment, what's happened is people, instead of drinking their 10 pints on a Saturday night, they're having 3 of these. Yeah. So they're drinking less, but just more considered.
And probably more quality. Probably more quality too. They're looking for a little bit more better quality,
Yeah. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that as well, because I think a lot of the people get so accustomed to going to a pub and just ordering one of those big brands because that's what it is. And they haven't been exposed to the environment. And once you are exposed to it, I mean, you're going to find a beer that you like. You might not necessarily like every craft beer. Some might be too fruity, some might be too hoppy, bitter, or whatever. But I mean, the point is that what's so special about it is there's something for everybody. It's not just plain boring, run-of-the-mill style house lagers.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. Like in general, I think that if you look at the overall consumption figures, they are down. So some people have been saying that people have been drinking their way through the pandemic. Well, I certainly do. I get to Friday and I feel like I do need to drink my way through the pandemic. There's no doubt about that. But I think that some of what people have been, some of what's being reported is not entirely accurate. The numbers are down, and I think what Mark is saying is absolutely correct. That people, let's face it, Guinness does not translate well from a draft product to a home consumption product, even with the widget. There's still a difference in the way people kind of use the drink, and we've seen a lot of people who, even kind of just anecdotally through social media, a lot of people who have taken the time off from the draft product to actually experiment a little bit, try a few different things. And I think it's been very, very healthy for the craft beer sector to see that happening. The big question will be is whether it holds.
I think the advantage on this run is that in the past it's been very hard to get people to transfer over, because tomorrow they're back in the pub without a selection, and not Dave's pub obviously, but your average pub, they don't have a selection or an option. Whereas now they've had a year of having as much of a selection as they can imagine. So they've been more inclined to trial, and because they've been drinking not socially, but the drinking has been purely out of enjoyment or for the product itself. Mm-hmm. They're getting to try more and find out more about it. Social drinking is more about the result, not what you're drinking. But this is different now because we're sitting at home, bored and idle. So I think that's why it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens next. I think, obviously the big pubs will probably act in a certain way, but overall the customer is going to drive what people are drinking next. So that's why it's going to be really interesting to watch.
It would be great if that happens. It would be great if the experience, if people go back, when the on-premise, when pubs reopened, it'd be great if the customer does actually have a say in what's kind of happening out there. I don't, whether we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, you're kind of the perfect person to come in here, because I mean, you're the one that's hitting up all the pubs and trying to get the beers in there. I mean, what is your biggest roadblock on that? Is it because those big brands monopolize the taps? They monopolize
There's nothing else. There's nothing else really causing it. Like, granted, don't get me wrong, the average punter before now hasn't necessarily been thinking about this, but the reason they haven't been thinking about it is because it hasn't been on their peripheries. They're going into their average haunt and they're not seeing selection, so they're not asking for selection. Like I say, they're drinking because they want the result, not how they're getting it. So the big guys, having bought up all the taps, which is often and generally the case, it makes it very difficult for us to crowbar our way onto that tap selection. We don't have budgets like that. We don't have budgets for getting taps. We have to go in and sell it on the basis of something that we know is a good product. A macro brand does not have to do that.
Yeah.
So that is, it's the biggest.
And you can't like I mean, how hard is it to actually install a tap in like a pub? Like, I mean, it's not necessarily a case of taking over one of their taps. Is it the case of putting one in? Like, what is the process behind that? I mean, why don't more pubs have craft beer? I mean, that's the short question.
Well, look, to be fair to the macro brands, because they will often purchase the cold rooms and install them for the premises, then the premises are beholden to the brand that's done that, giving them that money. So because they paid their way in, again, we don't have these budgets, so we can't do that. It becomes a very unlevel playing field. So that's generally what's driving it. The odd time we can parachute in a tap, but generally they're all spoken for. And so, things have slightly changed. Like, I suppose I'm really speaking about how things were a few years back. In the last few years, the consumer has generally started to speak up a little bit. And you will see, not in every pub, but in a lot of bars, you'll see maybe a token craft beer tap. Now, maybe that'll be a Q-Tour, but it may also be, I don't know, a Scraggy Bay or a KPA in Cork or whatever it may be, but it may only be one, and usually will only be one. Yeah. But that has been completely consumer driven, which is why it gets interesting for when all this flips on its head on the tail end of whenever this is, because the consumer gets a chance to talk again.
Yeah. So you touched on something very interesting. Will the consumer go to his local pub? Not specifically like a beer house or, for instance, Kinnegar in Cork or an Abbot Ale House, but will he start demanding craft beer even be packaged or a draft? It'll be very interesting to see how it could be good. Could be good for the beer industry in a roundabout way. Bad but good.
But if you think about the changes, like I was describing, like back between 2011 2013, I was able to kind of go and find some adventurous people like in this case McHugh's and the Black Sheep in Dublin, who were willing to actually kind of beta test a new product, and then it was at that point in time, so it's let's call it the guts of 10 years ago. They were there, in a sense, there were gaps in the shelves. There were gaps. People were looking to actually find products that they could actually put on the shelf. You push ahead 10 years and you go, okay, even in the retail sector, there's no gaps on the shelves. To get a space on a retail shelf is really, really, really hard. Then you look at bar space, tap space. As Dave can say, the bar space is the retail shelf, slimmed down to, probably 2 to 3% of what you might find on a retail shelf. Yeah. So you can kind of get a sense of just how competitive that space would be. It's not a question of the technology of hooking up a line, but basically you have limited sales space, and any publican, Dave included, would have to say, well, I need to make sure that I have the right products on this bar to make my pub work. Everybody in every pub, every pub owner has a different model, and different products fit that model. But it is an exceptionally competitive space, a very, very difficult space to kind of get into. And that's really, and there's different kind of things driving that space. So, it's not easy for a small brewery then to kind of just say, well, we got this great product here, would you give it a go? I can understand it from the publican side as well in some instances where they say, okay, no name recognition, new product, the economics.
You mentioned, Rick, that whenever it was eight years ago when you guys got to beta test your beers with those handful of outlets, it was not a crowded market space at that time.
No, not at all. No.
And here we are now, 10 years later or 8 years later, when the likes of ourselves alone have 50 breweries on our books, and that's just one distributor. We're not the only distributor in this market space.
Yeah.
And then you add in all the other distributors who are active, and you think about the space that we have to operate, but it gets even more difficult. So right now, I certainly don't envy when things come back. Like right now is a great time for Irish craft breweries. The smaller guys, like guys smaller than Rick's operation, for example. Now is a good time because there's a lot of loyalty in local areas, and that's great. But on the flip side, when things back up, I don't know if you're a small brewery. I really wouldn't envy your struggle, because it's going to be a task and a half to get that kind of traction.
Come in there, Sean, you were saying?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's interesting to be about the loyalty thing. I think Irish people are particularly loyal, but that's coming from, an outsider's perspective. And this question was going to be directed to Rick, but maybe Mark, if you want to jump in at the same time. If you look at a big brand, and that's like Tesco, they have limited, craft beer in their stores. If you look at Tesco in the UK, they have a great variety of craft beer in their stores, but obviously that's accessible to them. What is what's stopping getting you guys in the big in that big store? And I'm asking because Kinnegar ticks all those boxes. I mean, they have a great variety. You've got the core, you've got the special, you've got everything. So where's the blockage coming in that region?
Well, I mean,
Grand Cru.
Is it shelf? Does it come down to shelf space? Is it shelf space? Is that the bottom line?
No, maybe I can clarify. I suppose the way we've grown, maybe what I was describing before is, for the first 4 years, we got to 4 years we were producing, and to be honest, we just couldn't keep up with demand. So it was like we even said at the time, we were very, very lucky at an early point in our trajectory to, basically to start working together with Grand Cru, with Mark and Wally and, the rest of the guys there. And we were even at that time, we said, we need to be very, very careful about draft beer, because, draft beer, if you have a permanent line somewhere, I do think that the publican certainly has the right to expect that beer will flow. He's made a commitment to you, and he said, "Yep, okay, let's put this product on." And that's an incredibly, it is a very big, gesture towards us. And then if we suddenly say, "Oh yeah, sorry, we don't have product," we're under pressure. We don't have kegs for you this week. That's a problem. That's a real problem. So even in our early years, we were very, very cautious about draft, because we were working as hard as we could work, and we were always kind of on the edge of capacity, and we just didn't want to make promises that we couldn't keep. And so I would say it's also kind of similar on the the what we call the package side, so bottles and cans. We were the independent sector was certainly kind of, I suppose, the sector where we felt more at home. There was much more of a kind of a person-to-person contact there. But we also, we had to be very careful about how we developed the business, and I just, we wouldn't have been sure that we could, to kind of go banging on big doors and try to, break our way in and then say, "Oh yeah, we can't supply that." Well, it just didn't make much. It wouldn't make much sense. So it's not something. We've grown now. We're getting bigger. We do have. We have what I would like to think is a fairly, between the technical side and the human side in our brewery, that it's a very, very strong team and a very, very strong, production facility. We've invested a lot over, the past 8 years back into the business, in people and in equipment and technology. And, now I feel quite strongly about our ability to kind of, produce a certain volume, but always being very, very, being confident about the quality of the product that's coming out. We can talk about it a little bit further, but it is something that we're, it's an issue for the industry, for the sector.
And I suppose, I suppose it's a really valid point about like, okay, so you started that question, Sean, with like, is it just about getting onto shelf space, or what's the prohibitors on that? So getting onto shelf space for certain products is fine. We've seen that. We've seen certain brands that have built themselves up around just, being everywhere, which is fine. Again, if like quality is a huge issue, not a huge issue, but it's a huge point in developing a brand. If a brand is going to work really well, it needs to be quality focused. Look, Kinnegar is the perfect example of this as well. So like you take a product that's quality focused, and over time, even without marketing budgets like big guys, suddenly you get people talking about a brand. They're not talking about it because they see it everywhere. They're talking about it because they know it's good. So building up to that point where the brand is, the quality is assured and production levels are assured, everything's right, then you can start engaging in that conversation about, being on the supermarket shelves. Over the years, we've started to engage in selling through those avenues more recently, but it's because we've spent a lot of time getting brands built up through the independent trade, where you get like loyal customers, where people who are into these brands will support it and help build it up and allow the brewery to develop and get better at its job and get its quality up to the point where they're able to scale up but keep the quality while they're doing that. It's very easy to just ramp up your production quantities, but at the expense of the quality that you're producing. Yeah. It's really important not to do that and make that mistake, because you will see it all flounder afterwards. So right now, you'll start to see more, certain supermarkets would have taken a whole raft of different brands, which we've seen disappear over time. Yeah. Negatively, that had a big issue. Sorry, I won't go on, but there was, we seen over a few years ago where there was, a lot of people getting an introduction to craft beer through a supermarket. They were going in every week, tasting a different beer for a month or two, and suddenly they had this informed opinion that craft beer was bad. Yeah. That was really unhealthy for the industry. That's kind of shifted now, thankfully. And what you've seen is the likes of Kinnegar, and there's a handful of brands in Ireland, 10 to 20, that you can talk about confidently about their quality. Those are the guys who are still around, and those are the guys who are still growing. And the reason they're still growing is because they're producing something good.
Very good. Let's touch on Scraggy Bay before it's all gone. I mean, there's probably people out there drinking it, and I suppose before it's gone, it's already gone. We'll touch on this is your flagship, Rick. I guess one of your flagships, along with Rust Bucket. Do you want to introduce Scraggy Bay? And I mean, there's a question actually from which you can answer as well from Brendan. You might know Brendan Sewell, Views and Brews. I threw it out there during the week. Anybody any questions for yourself? And he just wanted to know what hops are in Scraggy Bay. Is it a secret?
I don't even know the answer.
You could give him a couple.
I actually don't know. I have to check the brew sheets. I haven't been involved in a long time. No,
you're putting your hand up. You don't work anymore.
You're lying, Rick.
I'm completely retired. I'm just here I'm a figurehead at this point. You kidding?
They're green. They're green.
Yeah. Just because you have gray hair, does that mean that you're old?
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't have this when I started this brewery. That's for sure. Okay.
You want
to what were the original hops? Sorry, Dave.
Well, we're all cutting each other off here. We were just saying, let's before we get digressing again, let's just introduce Scraggy Bay as your flagship. Yeah.
The Scraggy Bay obviously is, if you look at our original core range, the first 3 beers we made were the Lime Burner, Devil's Backbone, and Scraggy Bay, and I think Rust Bucket came shortly afterwards.
As you're talking there, I'm just going to share a screen there with some of your core range so people can have an idea what your range is. So keep talking.
Yeah, it's obviously it's been around since the beginning. It's not that we chop and change things, but obviously as a small brewery, your raw materials coming in are changing constantly, and there's a lot of variation in what you're brewing with. So we are very regularly kind of revising. There's no recipe that's holy. We are very often revising, the way we brew a beer, and that goes right down to what goes into it. And it could go right down to the hop selection, basically the hops that are in it. But I think, Sean, to go back to your question, or sorry, was it Brendan's question? The hops.
Was Brendan's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the main hops that you're getting will be coming from the dry hop, and the dry hop in Scraggy Bay is a mixture between Citra and Mosaic. Okay. So that's the kind of I suppose the dominant flavor profile that you're getting in the dry hop of Scraggy Bay.
It's so consistent. I mean, it's so consistent. It's like I think as a core range beer that's been around since you've opened. I mean, Mark will tell you, and he'll attest to this, that I can put one of those on the bar, and even to this day, it'll disappear in a night, 2 nights max, gone. And that could be up against 30 other taps in the good times, Still, ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It's one of those beers.
It speaks for itself, You don't have to sell it.
Super. Can I get another one on the fridge?
Does Scraggy still involve rye?
No, Scraggy's never had rye.
Okay, because that's obviously like a really strong theme with you guys.
It is a theme, but no, there's never been rye in Scraggy. The first rye beer we made was Rust Bucket, and then basically any rye beer we make will have the word bucket in it. Okay. So, and any beer that has the word bucket in it has got a rye content in it.
Okay.
But I'll throw it out there to anybody. Sorry, Mark?
Do you want to enlighten us as to why that is?
Well, I'll go back. Yeah, I will. But I'll get a case. I'll give a case of beer to anybody out there who can tell me which of our beers that doesn't apply to. So there's one beer that we've made over the years that has rye content in it, and it does not have bucket in the name. Mm-hmm.
Let me look at that screen again.
This will really kind of separate, the wheat from the chaff here to see if anybody can figure that one out. There's one case of beer on me. How
many is in the case? Is it a Donegal case now with six cans?
No, it's a
full case.
Yeah. We don't like to waste up here now.
We're getting a little bit bogged down in distribution and the heavy stuff. I suppose the more lighthearted stuff I wanted to ask to get something out of it was, obviously you've got a fond affection for rabbits in your team, and does Kinnegar translate to Warren or something, or Warren?
Rabbit Warren, where the rabbits live. So that's kind of, that's I suppose the source of it. But yeah, we're just, I suppose, with the rabbits / hares.
Does anybody know what they are?
I think if you look at them, they're more hares, but it doesn't really matter.
They're bigger. They got the legs. They got the legs.
I have a fantastic story about a Kinnegar t-shirt. It was taken on a junket by Northeast Beers over to Crombacher. I think they were celebrating, God, I might get this wrong now. It could be 150 years or a 100-year anniversary of Crombacher, or it could be even the 200-year anniversary. But we were on an amazing boat going down this river, well oiled, the whole lot of us. There was a band on the boat, free drink, free food, great entertainment. We were on the posh boat. Well oiled, but I was wearing a Kinnegar t-shirt, black Kinnegar t-shirt, and a number of people came up to me, of course, and they were like, "What's with the rabbit?" And everyone thought it was a Playboy t-shirt, and I was like, "No, it's not a Playboy t-shirt. It's a beer t-shirt. It's a beer t-shirt. It's a clean t-shirt. It's a beer t-shirt." So we got over that. We got over that much anyway, and we said, "Look, it's a beer t-shirt," and I said, "Look at the back. It's got Follow the Hops on the back. Your slogan." So at about 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening, I had about 25 Germans. I started hopping behind me around the dance floor because I said, "Follow the hop," as you do. So that was a great night.
I must say, Rick, I thought there was definitely like a pun or like at least a double meaning behind the whole hop. Follow the hops, as in hopping rabbits, but clearly not. Or was that not intended at all?
No, well, I don't really. I can't even remember what was intended at this point. I mean, there was one guy. I think it was a comment on. It might have been Twitter or some kind of social media channel, and he was talking about our branding, and he says, "Yeah, it's a lot of rabbits having the crack." And I thought that kind of reduced it to, it was, that's it. Yep.
I particularly liked the one you did with the Grand Cru collaboration. I think I picked Mark out lying on a keg or something, like, definitely. Was there, you could see Wally from Grand Cru. You could see, I think one of them had a shaved head, and I think that was brilliant.
Well, I won't not to embarrass Mark too much, but on the
do. We do it every time he comes into the place.
The Grand Cru boys had a bit of fun on the their WhatsApp channel. If you look at the label of Shuttle Bucket, one of the snakes has kind of what looks like to be an orange afro and a pair of glasses, and the lads thought that we had taken Mark as the model for that one.
But that's the thing. I think that David O'Leary has been like pretty much a character on the Yellow Belly beer for a long time, but apparently there's no connection. But if you look at the Yellow Belly beer, you can see David O'Leary on some of the characters, without a doubt.
Maybe when the beard was a bit longer and the hair was a bit longer, but no, definitely not.
I'd look for royalties, Dave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a few people on last week, and they more advertising that. I mean, the invoices are going out, so I think you've been quite good this week. You've been giving away stuff versus asking for giving plugs out.
We were pimping it up. But do you want to give us an answer there, Rick, so that people can stop answering and we can just sew that one up? What is the only beer that you have had?
Let it run for a while. Let it run.
What are we going to do? Are we going to do a lucky draw?
No. We've got a unique, random way of selecting winners. Always. It comes down to a number of factors. Basically,
Dave's
can we spell your name? Can we pronounce your name? Do we like you? And then generally, it's lucky dip. But so
I don't see anybody. I don't see anything in the comments section. I do not see the beer yet. I'm afraid.
Oh, okay, let's let it run. Okay. We'll have another competition later. We've got another competition later on. I agree with Mark, but we might just give away a couple of t-shirts as well. I'm actually wearing one, the new Shuttle Bucket t-shirt. So I've got a few of those. I'll pull it out of the bag here. I should have had it out.
I'm waiting for my shirt.
There's Mark right there. He's
back there.
Yeah.
So we've got two of those to give away.
Okay.
So good to be recognized. So maybe we'll come up with a question later, and there'll be a couple more prizes as well.
And we're gonna move on to the shuttle bucket now. So let's everybody who's got the shuttle bucket, crack it open.
Get in the glass.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds then to get my beer. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I suppose we have to wait for the head honcho. Like, we can't go ahead without him. So,
Mark, I suppose while we can all get a word in, I mean, we didn't get a chance to kind of briefly introduce yourself. You know who you are to people that are watching.
I'm completely irrelevant. I definitely don't.
Mark and Grand Cru beers, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Is that because you're ginger or what? Like what?
The token ginger in Grand Cru beers. That's me.
Good man.
These days I'm the Southern regional rep for Grand Cru. But actually, coincidentally, I'm not the longest there, but I was the first man officially on the books. I've been there for 10 years now.
Wow.
But I've been there for 10 years as of about 2 weeks ago, I think.
Get away.
So I'm just nigh on 10 years. When I started first, it was so anyone in the industry who'd have known Grand Cru beers back then would have known it as Wally or Wally's beers. You place an order today, tomorrow Wally comes parachuting in literally himself with the beers. And then I was hired to take over the delivery role. But that's how small things were back then. We had whatever amount of breweries on our books, but it was pretty small. There wasn't much of a craft beer or even world beer market back then. It's pretty tight.
So you're the Donegal man via Dublin, adopted Cork man. Does that kind of sum you up?
Started off in Dublin, parents moved. So yeah, coincidentally, my parents happened to live about maybe half a mile from Rick.
I very often see one or both of Mark's parents walking the beach here in the morning.
Okay.
At the evening.
Pure coincidence, by the way. I remember when I heard there was a brewery in Donegal. I'd heard there was a brewery that was located somewhere near where my parents were, which was a bit of a surprise. And then I seen it, as I was delivering beer into the two outlets that Rick mentioned there, the Black Sheep and McHugh's. I remember being kind of shocked to see that brewery because I wanted it to be good, but I kind of assumed it wouldn't be because it was just some random little brewery that was popping up, and then it started to appear in these stores in Dublin. And then bit by bit, it ended up becoming a little more prevalent. Anyway, really good news that the brewery that's half a mile from my parents' house happens to be one of the best breweries in the country. Worked out really well. And then I got
because you've got a funny accent. I mean, what is that? Dublin?
Me? I'm a Jack Bean. I'm one of the blow-ins. I'm the bad news story down in Cork, unfortunately.
Honestly, Mark, I have to say to you, Mark, when you first came down to Cork, you were a bit cagey of us Corkonians. And the line you used at me for about, I'd say, a month or two was, "Oh yeah, Mark and Grand Cru beers." I was like, "I know you. You used to do your deliveries and stuff." But But his big thing was, I moved down here and my missus is from Cork. You know, trying to get the
I belong here. I belong.
Yeah. I'm not here just selling beer. I'm here for the long haul. Accept it.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's exactly the line I used everywhere. That's really unfortunate.
It must have been tough. It must have been tough at the start. Seriously.
To be fair, there is no worse accent to have anywhere in Ireland if you're selling anything than a Dublin accent. It's just bad news. Everyone assumes you're coming in arrogant, and you are.
Well, you're right.
You're coming from a place where there's loads of people. You think you know everything because there's loads of people there, and then you leave and you realize you knew nothing. So,
I think
things have changed.
Well, Dave, tell the truth, Dave. Did you when Mark left, you said, "Oh yeah, okay, good. The missus is from here. That's all right then."
Oh yeah, you changed your opinion straight away.
Okay, so it worked.
And then he kind of drops the old baby thing, and then I'm moving down, and he starts using, I've got a kid on the way, and you've got a kid, and you've got a kid around the same age. So he uses all that to kind of work your emotions, and then you buy 15 cases of beer and 7 or 8 kegs off him, and he's happy. I'm happy.
Starting your laugh away, it's those salespeople. You can't get rid of it. They're like they bite onto your ankle, and you can't kick off until you give them something.
Do you want to talk us through Shuckle Bucket and the idea, Rick?
Yeah, well, we'll start at the origins, maybe. So the first rye beer we made was Rust Bucket. Within our, it's right at the beginning. And Rust Bucket it's on about 20% rye in the grist bill. The difficulty with rye in terms of brewing, like we obviously we really like using rye, but it's a very difficult, it's a very difficult grain to brew with. It doesn't have a husk on it in the way that barley does. It performs differently in the brew house. It's quite labor intensive. But you get a nice result from it, or we think you get a nice result from it. So when Rust Bucket came out, when I was developing Rust Bucket, unfortunately our beloved dog at the time, Rusty, kicked the bucket, and that's obviously camera turn correctly. That's the dog.
I'll put up a picture here. I had a picture earlier today.
As I said, it's the rabbits having the crack, but you'll notice that there's a few dogs in there having the crack as well, and Rusty is one of them. So we felt that because of the coloration of the dog and because of the beer, we felt that Rust Bucket suited as a name, and it just kind of that the bucket part of it became then our common theme for all rye beers. So Rust Bucket was the first one. Black Bucket was the next one. It's a black rye IPA. Sometime after that, we made, I think, Bucket and Spade. So it's a session rye IPA. There's Bucket Brigade, which is a red rye IPA.
There's our boy Rusty.
That's Rusty.
On the beach, chasing rabbits.
Yeah.
On the Rabbit Warren Beach.
That is actually the Rabbit Warren Beach. Yeah.
What kind of dog is he?
That's an Irish Terrier. That's one of your native breeds, Dave.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
He looks cool.
You can
see he's happy.
He was a brilliant dog. It was a lot of fun. So we've immortalized him in beer, which I think is appropriate. Mark, what else? What is Bucket Brigade, Black Bucket, Bucket and Spade, Rust Bucket, Shuttle Bucket. Yeah,
Shuttle Bucket.
So Shuttle Bucket was, we didn't try to necessarily take, Rust Bucket and put it on steroids. There were a few things that we did different. So basically the hopping is different. The grist bill is also different. So we've, certain things we kind of took out, certain things we added to it. it's not just kind of like a double strength or a 1.5 times the strength of a rust bucket. It's actually a completely different beer.
So it's not like a baseball player on steroids, Like
no, absolutely not. And it's something that we've been waiting to do it for a while. And I think this year we felt, it's like with a lot of our specials, even the brewers, like everything we do in terms of specials, we would like to say that if even though it's a special, it's something that could easily fit in as a core beer. I do feel that we're kind of, I don't want to kind of use, we're not conservative, but we're kind of classicists in a way. Like we want to make sure that whatever we're putting out has legs. And so, that was, I suppose, the objective. We've brought this out for March. We've brought it out with a particular kind of a theme to the illustration, but it was something that we definitely wanted to have a bit of legs.
I was going to say, I love my can work. I think it's really cool when you see artwork going on a can, whether it be graphic design or, tapping into local artists. Dave, do you want to touch on the can? You were talking about that with me the other night in the pub.
Touching? Yeah, I'm touching it. Yeah, I'm touching it. Oh, you mean talk about it? Yeah, talk about it. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. There's a whole lot of animals inside in a van driving around the place. It looks like St. Patrick's Day. I'm only 2 years in. It looks like
the artwork on the Kinnegar fans. I'm not sure if Rick has told us yet or if folk know about it, but there's actually a really nice story about the person who's putting the artwork together.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Basically, I want you to come back to that, Mark, there, but I just think that it's pretty subtle in the fact that this is a St. Patrick's beer can. Sure, you can read the story on the back, but you don't actually understand that it's the fact that St. Patrick is driving off the snakes to get rid of them.
What are snakes? I thought they were dinosaurs. Sorry. I read too many kids books.
For heaven's sakes, David, you're the one who told me about this. But anyway, okay. Rick, I was going to give you credit there. And by the way, let's come back to that. You said that you were marketing and creative. Are you responsible for all this, like the branding and that on Kinnegar?
Well, there's a few people, obviously, like anything, there's a few people involved. So between myself, Libby, my wife and partner, I suppose, in the brewery. And in this case, we worked together with a very, very, very talented illustrator named Dermot Flynn, who was actually somebody who started his career, with us back in our design days. So he was a young student coming out of NCAD in Dublin. He's just going to give away, I suppose, some age things, but I think it was right around 2000. And his very first job out of NCAD was with Libby and myself. He worked with us for a couple of years in our studio, and then he went off to do his master's in illustration in Brighton, and has been based primarily in London, since then. But I think is moving a bit back and forth between Dublin and London, and I think. There's a kind of like a long-term relationship there, which is also fantastic for us because I don't know that we would be able to get somebody of Dermot's caliber, that easily to kind of do our work without that existing relationship. Well, I suppose if you had a big budget, you would be able to do it, but.
I'm pretty much the same here. He was living up the road, a very good regular of mine, and he does all my graphics still for all my festivals and the beautiful graphics which are taking Sean's head up there, and the Haus logo. That's perfect. That's purposely done. But there's a great connection, sure, if I was paying for that guy, Graham Clark, based in Germany, I'd be paying through the nose, But
that's the thing.
It's great, and he cares. He loves. He works for, I think, a fishing magazine in Germany. and he's taking close-up shots of fish every day. So I mean, fishing gear, but I'd say he probably just loves doing this, beer-related stuff.
Well,
is that what you were going to bring up?
Yeah, it was this guy.
Sorry, Rick, carry on.
I hope that, Dermot would have to speak for himself, but I hope Dermot enjoys. I mean, I think he does. I think he enjoys doing the stuff for us, because he's probably being paid, much better by other clients, and it's for us, it's a slightly different kind of level of things.
Maybe you should give him the free case of beer. I'm sure you look after him every now and again.
Look,
There's perhaps one point that I can jump in there, like Rick, and I really hope this doesn't backfire and that you raise your prices. But I mean, you guys are really affordable. Like your beers are like, Mark, even your specials, whether it's I'm sorry, like
Mark, get on that.
Normally, like, you have your big alcohol beers. If it's got a high ABV, it's going to be raised as a price. I don't know why it is, but it is. Someone can probably explain that to me about the Irish tax law. But I mean, whether it's Big Bunny, Double Bunny, Thumper, all those 8%ers are very reasonably priced. I'm not going to quote the price out, just in case some off license is not selling it as good as David and my local is. But I mean, like, what's the reason behind that? I mean, are you?
Well, look, we live on bread crusts and kind of walk to work every day. That's no, I'm kidding.
Yard rabbit.
Yeah.
You should see Rick's car. It's spectacular. He's really got it all out with that one.
This is Mark and the other guys at Grand Cru. They gave me a good ribbing because for I think the first 6 years of the brewery, most of our work was done in a 2006 Honda Jazz.
Right.
Which is still actively doing a lot of work.
It is still on the road, and the thing was, I think I was actually going down to Galway one day to meet with Paul Russell, colleague of Mark, covers the west of Ireland, and I think it was probably just about 5 kilometers short of Galway when some panel, underneath the Jazz just dropped onto the motorway, and then I had to make the decision: do I just keep driving? Sounds bad, but things are going okay. Okay, I'll give it a go. And so I kept driving into Galway with this thing, kind of like, as I was going through Galway, you could see people just pointing at me, going like, "What's that?" So yeah, I finally got to the point where I said, as big swinging, CEO of this, major corporation, I need to get a new car.
Major corporation, I like that.
Yeah, and so then I went and got I admit it. I bought an Audi, but it was already.
God.
But it was already 3 years old.
People, come here. People are going to stop buying your beer now if you're driving around an Audi.
And it was.
I thought you were going to tell me it was a hybrid.
No, it was a 3-year-old A3. And I got such a ribbing from the Grand Cru guys because I was no longer driving the Jazz. The Jazz is still on the road, and to Libby's great credit, she's still driving the Jazz, and it's got 275,000 kilometers on it. So,
and now Rick,
but to go back to the price.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So to go back to the price, look, I suppose the thing I would say is, my assessment of where we are is I wouldn't say that we're the least expensive, but I wouldn't say we're the most expensive. I think
please don't change. Don't change.
I think we're kind of in the middle. What I suppose what our goal is always is that we're delivering, as much value as we can for the price that people are paying for a beer. That's the thing that I want people to walk away from the experience saying, it was worth it. I got something for my money. I don't think we certainly have kind of fought hard not to increase prices over the years. In fact, I don't know that we have. I don't think we've increased our prices once in the 8 years that we've been operating. We've been trying to do
once. I remember once. Yeah.
Oh, here you go. No.
I gotta talk to Mark about this now because I don't know about that.
No, you didn't increase
Mark,
the price.
Look, Mark's been pocketing the money. You don't even know about this, Rick. Like, this is absurd.
My kids follow me here. You just gotta step away.
It's a court tax. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
but let's not get bogged down in prices. Look, let's all agree. Let's all agree that Kinnegar is very affordable and it's a fantastic. Like Brendan Sewell there on Views and Brews thrown up a comment and I think he summed it up. A very good point about the pricing. He said a lot of people comment on the price of Kinnegar and it makes a lot of people loyal to the brewery. And he said, fair play.
Thank you, Rick. Well, that's all we have to say.
That's all we have to say. Well, I have a fantastic question. All right, this came in from.
Okay.
As I said, this came in from Mike Moore. He works in Bradley's. You might know Mark. Mark might know Mike. He works for Michael and Bradley's. Two Michaels. He came up with a fantastic question. I think the best question. Let me just find it there. Sorry, no, I'm working off my phone. As I said, my printer packed in. Give me a second. It was basically if you could brew anything, Rick, without any limitations, any beer, what would you brew? Like, if you had no limit on technology and you had everything available to you, what style or what beer would you brew? I think that was the question. Like no limitation on cost of raw materials, no limitation on anything. What style or what beer would you brew?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Well, we can let you take it.
Well, I'll be very contrarian in a way about this. There'd be one thing about kind of personal taste and one thing about, I suppose, what I think shows the quality of a brewery. If I could brew, I'm actually a huge lover of a really, really good Pilsner.
Yeah. Especially in summer.
Yeah, but I can like a really, really like, there's always that old adage, the way you kind of really judge a brewery is to drink their lager.
Okay.
Or a very, very kind of light pale ale, like basically there's no hiding there.
Mm-hmm.
With those beers, you're really showing that that brewery can brew.
Is that your favorite type of beer, a Pilsner?
Not necessarily. I'm very fickle. I'm definitely not very kind of I'll drink my fair share of Scraggy. I'll drink my fair share of very hop forward beers. I'm a very, very big fan of a number of different Belgian styles, but I think that there is quite a bit of artistry involved in producing a really, really superb, lager, whether it's a Pilsner or Helles, but I think there's, and so I think the one side of the question, I would say, okay, there's no limitations. The thing is like to be able to do that really well, there's a lot of technical, there's a lot of, it's actually technically quite difficult. So, it does require some things that we don't necessarily even have in our, technology.
No. The question was, you have everything. The question is,
so that's what I'm saying. So
you have it. We'd have it.
And I'd be like, then I was like, okay, then I would like to be able to produce, a really, really, really beautifully well-made Pilsner. And I see absolutely nothing wrong. One of the things that I suppose has really infuriated me, you go to as Libby will tell you, like I stay away from social media, pretty much entirely because, I just, it keeps me awake at night. So the better thing is to not look at it. And, things like Untapped, you have some of these really, really just absolutely superb Pilsners out there, and they get an Untapped rating of, 3.2. And you're going like, that's just madness. That's a beautiful, beautiful beer. And yet it's like, people don't like this. People are not impressed with the style. And I'm like, well, it's actually much more difficult to do that.
This is the thing, though.
I'm literally just laughing at a comment that came up on the screen there from Stephen.
Can you see that comment?
Yeah, I can.
And it's from a man who knows. Yeah.
we might park the lager talk.
if we can just come back to this like briefly though, like Rick, I mean, what do you drink besides your own stuff, or do you only drink your own stuff? Because I mean that would be absurd. Like you need a product test. Like,
we could rephrase that because last week we asked.
What have you been drinking this week?
We asked the question last week. What breweries are you jealous of? Because someone threw it on the screen. So we rephrased it and said, what breweries do you admire, Irish and international?
Oh, geez, that's
great question.
There's a huge list there. I mean, there's an absolutely massive list.
Okay, give us one or two of each.
Well, the thing about like my current circumstance being, isolated in the most beautiful part of the world, admittedly, is that the beers that I can get are actually quite limited. Another great reason to have Mark on tonight because Mark's actually seeing. I mean, I've been for the past year, my drinking experience has been somewhat restricted. I will admit that with our distributor based in Dublin, I occasionally kind of work out a bit of a deal where we get cases put on pallets that are coming back up to us, which is kind of handy. That's it's a pretty good lifeline to have. There's a couple guys, Sean and David in the brewery are bringing in boxes from Craft Central in Dublin to kind of keep us going.
You're not talking about Sean and David here, obviously, but yeah.
No, Sean another Sean and David. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're still getting opportunities, to try different things, and it's keeping us kind of, I suppose, a little bit on our toes. In terms of, if we go back and we start with, the lager question, for example, there's a very small brewery in Bamberg called Marsbräu, which produces an absolutely beautiful, naturally carbonated, unfiltered lager. It's a fantastic beer. It is a beautiful, beautiful beer, and I think it's.
Where is that? What country?
Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it would be a bit of an eye-opening experience for people's, idea of what a lager is. If you go to Belgium, there's a again it's a small brewery, Alvine. Like they produce really, really beautiful mixed fermentation beers, and they have quite a broad range of different beers that they're making. Really, really nice.
You just brought something up there, Rick, that it might maybe it's time to
Crack open the barrel. Yeah.
Is it time?
I think it might be. You just mentioned mixed fermentation, but this isn't mixed fermentation.
No.
It might be a time.
It must be time to bring in the two boys as well. I've been waiting. We have a slot every week here. It's kind of like we call it the Houseflies Live virtual bar stool. And this week we've got two lads from the Royal County, two brothers. One lad, we all met the other night. We did Connor and John O'Halloran. I just see if they're there. And they don't seem to be on the screen, but lads, are you in?
They'll get
connected. Okay, they'll get connected. They'll hear us. They're probably watching. But
they're busy typing at the moment.
continue on with the barrel aging and the barrel aged Irish whiskey rye stout. Yeah, we're going to introduce.
Sorry, I cut across you there.
Yeah.
Let's crack it open. Let's get it open. I've been waiting for this.
It's funny seeing it in a bottle. Yeah. Okay.
Growler, man.
Growler. Sorry. I don't have one. I don't have this beer.
Hang on. What? Get up close to the screen there. Get up close to the screen there, and I'll pour some down your neck.
But I mean, actually, on.
Did anyone see that video that? Sorry, I'm deviating a small bit. That Lochran Malls did with the it was fantastic with the passing a beer for St. Patrick's Day. Did you see that one? It was fantastic. Where they literally it was like there was a beer passed through the screen to the next person, and the next person picked up a beer. And have a look at it. It was very well done. Beautiful.
But I mean, Rick, let's come back to the fact that you don't have that beer. I mean, I was telling everyone last week that the only place you can get it is at the beer house on tap. So, I mean, is it that new, or what's going on with it? Like, is it it's not in cans or anything like that? Like,
no, it was,
tell us a story.
It only ever went into kegs, so it was never packaged in cans or bottles. I suppose the origin of it was that we had a close contact with a distillery just south of Belfast called Hinch. Not the contact, but the distillery. And we looked at the idea of doing something where, they were going to send us a certain number of barrels.
The boys are here. I'm just going to add them on there.
Okay.
John, Connor, how are you lads?
That's the wrong camera.
Oh, sorry, wrong camera. That's Seamus in Germany. Seamus, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Join the chat.
Yeah, I've joined anyway. Can you hear me anyway? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what I'm saying.
Grand. Cool.
You're into your beer anyway, so
yeah.
Dave, your career with RTE, Dave, is a long time coming.
Yeah.
It's all graphic, man.
It's all graphic. Yeah.
John and Connor are here anyway.
Hey guys.
Continuing, Rick. Sorry.
Yeah. So we basically we looked at Hinch. The guys at Hinch sent us a certain number of barrels. They wanted us to fill it with whatever we wanted to. We were able to make the suggestion about what we were going to put in the barrels. And then, we would leave the beer in the barrels for a certain period of time, then send them back, and they were going to, refill them with whiskey. And so, I suppose keeping in the rye theme, we filled barrels with 3 different beers. One was a rye export stout. One was a red rye, and there were numerous barrels, but the 3 different ones were export stout, the red rye, and then a pale rye.
So they're still coming.
The beers themselves, not really. No, this was about this was over a year ago that we actually filled the barrels.
Oh wow!
The interesting is that the whiskey, well, of the 3 different ones, the one that I thought was we did have we had a couple of kegs in the brewery, and we tried them probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And surprisingly, the one that I thought would work least well turned out to be pretty impressive, which was the pale rye.
Wow!
Wow!
Yeah. So it was something that was a bit of an experiment. It wasn't a massive volume thing, so we could afford to try and experiment, and we had a pale rye in there, and the impact of the whiskey on the pale rye was really, really nice. So it's like a really, really nice, smooth, flavor profile with that, just a little bit of a hint of the whiskey coming over the top of it. And this is one of the things that we wanted to do. I find that some of these whiskey barrel aged beers can be like a bit of a slap in the face. Like it's more whiskey than beer. And there's kind of like this big bang of alcohol that comes off of it, and it's something that I'm not a very big fan of. So in this case, what we wanted to do was get a bit of an impact, but not too much of an impact. We wanted to kind of keep it, balanced. And surprisingly,
I don't get a lot of alcohol. I don't get a lot of booze on this at all.
So what we did is we limited the contact time. It was a shorter period of time, and that's why I say it's conditioned rather than aged. But the pale ale came out. There was just a really, really nice kind of overlay of the whiskey on the pale ale.
Send us one down next week, Mark, if you still got one.
I was gonna say, are we gonna see it? Like, when is this happening, Rick? You're like teasing us here. Like, it's we can't. It's like we are hearing about it, but we can't touch.
It's around, yeah.
It'll work. Don't worry. We'll talk next week. We'll be okay.
We'll talk next week.
Like, seriously, Mark, we're gonna have to conversations after this because you are not doing your job properly. Like, we do not know about this beer.
We'll make it work. It'll be okay.
But the thing that was so the barrels went back to Hinch Distillery and they were refilled. And but so here's the opposite thing: is what they found is the whiskey that was refilled in the barrels worked really well in the barrels that had the stout, worked really well in the barrels that had the red rye in it. But there wasn't enough flavor pickup from the pale. And so, so they said it was very nice whiskey, but they weren't getting that extra little hit that they wanted from the beer. But the other two, the red rye and the stout, those whiskeys, I think they were just actually introduced last week in the States.
Okay.
They're only being sold in the States, I'm afraid.
Oh, really? So because it's apparently very difficult but we're not going to touch on this, but I mean, apparently it's very difficult for Irish and English breweries to get across to the States with their three-tier system.
It's not the beer, Sean, it's the whiskey.
Oh, apologies. Okay.
So the barrels they have been refilled with whiskey, and the barrels which had the stout in them and had the red rye in them have picked up a very, very nice extra kind of flavor, profile from them. That's being released in the States. It was released in the States, I believe, last week. The whiskey from the barrels that had the pale rye in them, I think that was all flushed down the drain.
Lads, I suppose we better introduce John and Connor, who are sitting here. They're our guests this week in the hot stool. We were calling it the hot seat, but we renamed it the hot stool.
Hot stool.
Welcome to Haus Flies Live. You're sharing the headphones, Jesus,
Jeez, you guys are twin. You guys almost are twin brothers. I mean, I thought that was a mistake, but you guys are.
Can't hear you, lads. Pull out the headphones. We can't hear you. Yeah, disconnect it from your laptop. We can't hear what you're saying. All right. This is working well, isn't it? Yeah, I'd say, lads, disconnect it from the laptop.
Is there sound now?
Yeah. There'll be a bit of feedback. Yeah, go without the headphones. It's just not working.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Are you in?
Can you hear on there?
Yeah. There's a bit of feedback. We'll keep it brief, I suppose. Yeah. But
sorry, lads.
Welcome to Haus Flies Live, anyway. Lads, how are you getting on? I mean, are you missing the beer house? Are you missing going out for a few pints?
Missing the beer house, big time, definitely, big time. Miss the community of people that you had there. Just you go in for quiet pints in there and end up staying and meeting several different people.
And yourself there. I mean, like John, you're a chef. Like pretty talented. What flying salads is the Instagram handle. That's pretty awesome. That's a great name. That's flying salads, which is pretty I mean, because you are what's that restaurant called that you're working at?
Paradiso.
Paradiso
is a fine dining place on Washington Street.
I think it's probably you can't get a booking there until 2023, so that's all right. But Connor, like you also were in the industry, but now you are working at Black's because you stole your brother's job.
Well, I didn't get the job. Look, I can drive. I think that might have been the defining factor. But look, I'd say like what ended up bringing us to Blacks was the beer house, like, you know.
Okay.
Because I started working, I started drinking in the beer house and getting all these new craft beers that was going on. And I met a friend there, and I started working in the Priory. I got one job from the beer house, and then once COVID hit and all things went skids under, I got lucky enough to get a job at Black's just randomly, just from me rolling a couple of times in the head brewer of Black's in the beer house. So, you know, the beer house made me who I am at the moment as well. So I've got a lot of thanks to give for that one.
You're full of praise, man. Full of praise.
That's where it is. Like if I didn't end up randomly drinking in the beer house one day, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So,
what you're trying to say is a beer house is a great place.
Yes, pretty much just bang on. That's how it goes.
Well, I suppose the best way of describing it was you didn't fall in there. You rolled in there, really, didn't you?
There's been a few otters spotted, we might say.
Are they skateboards or longboards or what?
No, longboards.
You rolled up and
yeah, literally every time you'd hear the boys coming before you'd see us, like. Yeah.
I mean, I must put my hand up. My first interaction with you lads, I was like, Jesus, lads, what are these two boys about? Like, you know, one fellow with a baseball cap, unusual accents, rolling up on skateboards or longboards. Who goes to the pub on a skateboard? You know,
a drunk skate.
I said, oh Jesus, this is going to be trouble. But you know what? It's all, you know what? As we got to know each other, like we had some fucking brilliant nights inside there where Jesus, no hold bars and. We have a fierce bit of crack myself and yourselves, like, you know. One thing I did ask John was to recall at least one good tale from the beer house that you've had over the years since you've been drinking there. If you think of it in there. Yeah.
If I think of the beer house, my first thought is you doing the beer puppet. Actually, nice that you were in it, because I remember going in with such confidence. And thinking like, oh, I have this. And I remember putting it on me after seeing you. Just so you pulled it, and you were so cool about it. I remember just watching, and I have a video on my phone. And you get nearly the whole pint in one, just sipping it back. I said, Dave can do that. I can do that. And I remember just going up and trying, and immediately just like spilling it down myself altogether.
This was, of course, this was the White Hag tap takeover where they had their beer puppet at the Hag Extravaganza, and I saw this and I was like, we got to have a night around this. We touched on this last week, and we had Kate Clancy on, and we disgraced her as well, showing the picture of her throwing it down her neck. But how I managed to nail it was I actually beat the pint glass and threw it down my neck. You know?
Oh, Jesus.
I think Sean's efforts were definitely commendable as well. I think you might have spent the longest on it because you're like, no, I'm going to get this. I'm going to literally, I'm getting this tonight. Like,
I had 2 attempts. I'm not used to failure. You know what? I don't.
No, man, I'm right there with you. Like, no worries.
But like what we actually have to talk about here is like, you lads, you came down from Meath, unfortunately. You're very proud of that. I don't know why.
And why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't they be?
I like, seriously. But like what? I mean, besides skateboarding and like beer,
longboarding,
I mean, you guys longboarding, sorry.
Nice one. Yeah.
But I mean, you guys love your beer. I mean, especially lambics and you love. Actually, I don't know. I don't think I've ever met you guys saying this is a bad beer. Like from the point that it's a horrible beer, just as in it's the style you enjoy. But like, I mean, what sort of things do you get up to besides beer and skateboarding?
Homebrewing is something that we've done an awful lot of recently. To be fair, there's not much to be at Like these days, like just point it that way, and there's a couple of demijohns worth of brews we've made in the cap past couple of weeks.
We need to bring Rick back on there with just in regards to the Kinnegar Academy, which we'll touch on in a moment. But I mean, do you guys have any nicknames?
I know he's going here.
Nicknames. Nothing is ever really stuck, I suppose. At home, they call me Gull.
Gull.
Yeah. So one day, like my father, since when I was a child, he always called me C. And then one day, one of the lads was just like, Seagull. And there you go. Gull, just so every day, when I go home, I'm only known as Gull to all my friends.
Because I always heard that you guys are like almost dubbed as the official overlookers of the league.
Oh, the otter spotters, perhaps.
Is that good? Because what I'm trying to decipher here, is that your nickname, the otter spotters? Because I want to know, what is the most popular animal on Lee's side besides the seagulls? Because
definitely the otter. Probably the otter.
And you guys see regular sightings on a daily basis?
Not on a daily basis, no. Maybe in like weekly. Yeah, a weekly basis. There might be an otter or two.
Right. Anyway, we're gonna
move on.
To promote the Cork County Council with their new otter trail. It's a very nice thing.
You see all those billboards and stuff.
Let's bring Rick back in there, lads. Have you got a favorite Kinnegar beer? A favorite Kinnegar beer or a beer from Kinnegar recently? You just went wow that you kind of went.
Rust Bucket. Rust Bucket is my favorite Kinnegar.
Okay, very good. And John,
interestingly enough, my top 10 of all beers ever. It was my very first craft beer that I ever had. To be fair, I had it in the Roisin Dove in Galway.
Did you drink it or did you sip it?
I got a pint of it, and I'd say it was gone. It was gone faster than I would have preferred. You want a pint sometimes to last you, but when something's as good as that, like because I was drinking at the time, I was drinking like Excelsior for whatever, like less than €1 a can from like in college, just out of school, like from Lidl, just getting like whatever I could buy. And now all of a sudden,
I remember those days.
I had this. I was like, oh, Rust Bucket, what's that? Like, and all these big array of taps, and just seemed like, oh, something's different about this one, like,
Now, lads, last week we had Declan Buckley drink dog beer. What are you going to do for us?
Well, what do you want us to do?
I don't know.
I don't think we're going to drink. I'm not drinking. I'm good for dog beer. That was a tough watch, to be fair.
Yeah.
But Dave, I think this is probably a good time to announce that we are probably going to try to do a home brewing competition like details will be announced, but I think that's what we're going to try to do is a home brewing, whether it just be a pure IPA or we'll name the details, but I think it's going to be interesting for all the beer house locals. Anyone who is interested in home brewing, we're going to launch like a home brewing thing, and we'll donate everything to charity. So, keep a lookout on that. Rick, if I could bring you back in here just against the Kinnegar Brewing Academy, because I mean that's an awesome concept. I mean, you're the only guys in the country with that. No,
I don't know, but it was. I'm not sure if we're the only ones, but it was when we were able to hold them. The last one was it's almost 2 years ago now, because we had one scheduled for last March, which obviously got canceled COVID wave. But it's something that we enjoyed doing. We had a lot of fun with that. It was kind of half of a weekend socializing and half learning about brewing. So I don't think anybody kind of came in and walked out, as kind of, highly skilled brewers. It was over 2 days. The first day, what we did was, we would kind of teach people about, different styles of beer, and then also the source materials. You know, where were the flavors coming from that they were tasting in those different styles? You know, what was it from the malt? Was it from the yeast? Was it from the hops? What was driving the flavor profiles in those beers? It was kind of, you know, obviously a pretty nice way to learn, because you were, you know, necessarily imbibing quite a bit of beer over the course of the day, and you know, by the end of Saturday, things were pretty liquid, but then that became a bit of maybe a bit of a hindrance, because on the Sunday you had to make a beer, and so the idea was, you know, we would talk about different beer styles on the Saturday. We would talk about things that people were interested in, and then on the Sunday, we'd actually have to make a beer. Now, for a lot of people in there, it was, you know, it's not that we weren't throwing them right in the deep end. We kind of throw out some suggestions about different beers that might be interesting to trial, and then. But I would, between the end of Saturday, after having had all those beers, and then the beginning of Sunday, which would be quite early in the morning, I would have to work out a recipe pretty quickly about what we were going to do for the day, and then, you know, basically everybody would put through their paces and have to follow a brew through the day. But the amazing thing about it is, like, I think there's a few. Flying Saucer is one of the Flying Saucer is our foreign export.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a product of the Brewing Academy. There's at least 2 or 3 beers which are actually either in our core range or our recurring core range, recurring seasonals, which came from the Brewing Academy.
I was looking at that actually. There was a gold medal winner, wasn't there, from the Brewing Academy?
Yeah, I think that was Flying Saucer.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think that was the first beer we did in the Brewing Academy. But the long and short, it's 80% social, to be quite honest. And I've always, like, I do enjoy I enjoy the Brewing Academy. For me, it's actually a real pleasure to do it. Mm-hmm. It's a very intensive weekend, you know, of bringing people in and looking
after them and holding their hands, and
yeah, but it's really enjoyable, and I look forward to being able to do it again.
Well,
yeah,
but I mean, you've got to stipulate that it's not like for brewery experts or professionals, and not for anybody who's intended on opening up a brewery. It's intended for the regular people like us who want to come up, learn about beer enthusiasts that want to have a good time.
If somebody's coming to one of our brewing academies because their intention is to open a brewery in the next period of time, there's a lot of better educational opportunities out there. They're in the wrong place. You know, I feel we have a lot to teach people, but we're not the right place for, you know, anybody who's entering the industry as a professional needs to be, you know, educating themselves slightly differently. It is intended, you know, for you know, basically we've had people we've had home brewers, we've had people who are just interested in beer. And to be honest, we've also had people who have never had any contact with beer before.
So myself and Sean are perfect candidates. We're up for the next one. I must put my hand up and say that I've got an invite probably 2 or 3 years in the last 3 years. I've never turned up.
You canceled out on us, didn't you?
I think something turned up, like a child.
Sorry, Mark, did you cancel as well?
A child or something turned up, you know?
No excuses. I don't accept it.
Yeah. But I mean, look, we've been through COVID, and I'm in for the next one. If Sean's going, I'm going. There's
you know what? I must say, I love Donegal. I think it's probably one of the best parts of Ireland, so I will be going.
So I see what's happening here, Sean. He's inviting himself up. Fine. It's fine.
Not sure how many people from these parts want to head up that direction either.
What do you Meath boys? Meath boys need to behave. Donegal is beautiful. Actually, but by the way, on that, Rick, how did you get to Ireland?
Well, I'll come back to the second, but Mark, all I'm going to say is any of these guys from Cork, they're staying with your folks, okay?
Stick him on it. Stick him on it. Stick him on it to the one little pen. Let them kill each other. You know.
Well, I'm exactly like Mark. My beautiful wife hails from these parts.
Me too. I mean, that's hard.
I was able to tell all the locals very quickly. I said, "Oh, I know I'm not from here, but my wife is."
So that's where Mark got the line, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I should be charging for that. I taught Mark that one.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got a question regarding your wife. Actually, it's clean. Don't worry. I know we got a reputation. From Ronan Russ from Black. Basically, who wears the wellies in the household? Who wears the wellies?
Sorry, the connection is very bad, Dave. I can't hear what you're saying.
The question was from Ronan Russell and Blacks. Who wears the wellies at home?
Still can't hear you.
Yeah. Who wears the wellies?
You're fading out, Dave.
Yeah. So she herself is in charge. Yeah. Okay.
You're in a tunnel.
Move on.
Yeah, we'll take it as that answer is correct. And also, Mark, Rick, did you say that you love Donald Trump or was it George W. Bush? Which one is your favorite?
No, hold on. I will not engage in politics on this.
Good.
It's good to have your connection back. That's all I was worried about. Okay, thank you.
Good point, Sean. Yeah. It's working again. Yeah. But
I think it's a good time for his quickfire round, isn't it?
Oh, here we go. Let's do it.
This is the highlight of the week. Ricky, you ready for your quickfire round?
I guess so.
All right, we're going to put you on full screen for this one. All right, here we go. Rick, this is your.
So we can see the eyes. We can see the eyes.
Is your connection okay?
What'd you say?
Rick Lefebvre, do you need me to ask another question?
All right, here we go. It's 10 easy going questions. Don't worry. We're talking beer, IPA or stout.
Depends on the day of the week, but I
gotta answer quickly. You gotta answer quickly.
IPA.
Sip. All right. We're talking whiskey, Irish or Scotch.
Irish.
We're talking music, Madonna or Metallica.
Ooh. Metallica.
We're talking sport, US sport, basketball or football.
Neither. Baseball.
All right, we're talking sport. Irish. He's failing. We're talking sport. Predominantly Irish sport. GAA or rugby.
Easily rugby. Hurling. Beautiful. Right. Hurling. Beautiful. Gaelic football. Don't. Get it.
Quick fire. We're talking counties. Dublin or Cork.
Ooh.
Come on, my son. Cork. Come on. Cork, come on. No pressure. We're talking life. Half full or half empty?
Oh, very definitely half full.
Good man. We're talking holidays. Snow or sun?
He's from Vermont. He's gonna want snow.
I'll go snow. Yeah.
Okay.
Powder boy.
And your final one. Okay, this is a tricky one because I looked at this one and I was like, we're talking about beer, barrel aged or mixed fermentation wild.
Mixed fermentation wild, easily.
Good man. You passed.
Really?
You passed. All right.
Elaborate on the mixed fermentation and the wild there. I mean, you guys haven't gone into that, have you? Are you guys doing mixed fermentation and wild yeast?
Well, mixed fermentation on the way.
Sean, sorry, no, lads, got across here. Sean, do your research before the next episode.
Sorry, I'll do my best.
I mean, I know you've got a full-time job. I know I'm farting around the place minding children and doing fuck all, but
shit, sorry.
Rat Mullen now is their wild mixed fermentation brewery, and then Letterkenny is the main brew house. And Rick, you want to tell us what's going on in Rat Mullen?
Well,
go.
What we've done is we've always been quite hesitant to start, introducing things like mixed fermentations, wild fermentations in the main brewery, just for potential kind of cross contamination, reasons. We've toyed with a few things over the past couple of years. We had a few things that came out under the Funk Farm label. But what we've started doing recently is the original brewery that we opened up in 2013 has been sitting more or less dormant. K1, yeah. It's been sitting dormant for a number of years. And then this past year, we basically, we got it cleaned back out. Most of the equipment that was in there had already been pushed down to K2 anyway. So the old brew house, the old K1 brew house has been in K2, the Letterkenny brewery, for at least 2 years now. And so it's our pilot facility in the K2 facility. And what we started doing is we're producing wort down in Letterkenny, and we pushed up the road down. So we have a couple of transport vessels that we use, and we take it from Letterkenny then back up to Rathmullen. So it's in its very early stages. We've really just started working with it, and it's going to be quite some time before people see anything coming out of it. But so we're working with what I would say inoculated mixed fermentations and then also spontaneous fermentations in the old facility.
Good stuff. I'm looking forward to collaborations with the likes of Land and Labour and the big sour boys in the future. Definitely.
Well, I actually Land and Labour. That's you asked. That's a good. You asked me before about breweries that I like.
Land and Labour, man. Oh, they're knocking it out of the park. Let's be honest.
Yeah, like I would say that stuff that Tom is making is absolutely fantastic. So you were asking like different breweries that we where I like the beer, like Tom's. I'm part of that. One of those shipments that we got up from our colleagues in Dublin. There was a small case of I think it was a six bottle case from Land and Labour on it, and absolutely spectacular beers.
I met him on the train in Hags, coming back half scuttered on one of the Hags extravaganzas. I think Mark, you made the introduction. Was it yourself made the introduction?
I might have been missing, yeah.
Yeah, and I basically said I want kegs off you for a sour festival. It was probably more I want kegs off you next week. And he went, "Who are you?"
Dave,
you have kegs of Land and Labour, Dave, though, don't you?
We're sitting on a couple. Yeah.
I remember that.
Mark can tell you, we've got a pallet in Grand Cru Beers, which is growing. It's got some awesome.
Dave has got a.
Let me know
in Grand Cru Beers in its chilled location. That's very, very exciting. That might be the most exciting pallet of beer that we've got in our ownership at the moment. But anyway,
that's what
Rick,
there is.
Rick, you enjoy your sour beers?
Yeah, I love sour beers, but Dave, you probably don't remember. It was actually probably the last Tour de Gueuze. So basically, the open
we met up in Hanson's, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so there was the last open day of the Gueuze, we call them breweries or blenders, in Belgium. And we actually ran into you, Dave.
In Hanson's,
yeah. And Tom was there. Do you remember Tom being there?
No.
Hand
up. No, I don't remember him being there.
So Tom was actually there. You were there. Yeah. And the thing about Tom was I really felt for him because he had a massive toothache, and he was taking, I don't know what the painkillers were, but he was chomping on painkillers for most of the day. I was
too busy slagging you for being on the free junket with Grand Cru Beers.
Probably. No junket in my life is free, Dave.
Wasn't that the crazy one? Wasn't that the crazy junket that apparently Mark can probably fill us in here, where you were going, you weren't going, you didn't book the flights, and then suddenly you did in one day, like flew out in the morning and were flying back the night.
Who, me?
No, like the Grand that Grand.
Yeah.
But I mean, Rick, I think the short question here is when is Kinnegar going to bring out? When is Kinnegar going to bring out a sour beer?
Well, we've actually had a few.
But the new one, like with wild mixed fermentation.
Well, that all takes its time. I can't that's not something that you can, you don't.
You're not going to rush it.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't predict that. It all takes its time.
And when the beer is ready,
sorry, Mark, repeat that.
I'm saying when the beer is ready, it's ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about sours, actually, I have a question that came in there from Peter O'Brien. He said, let me see. If you were to use Quivic yeasts, would it be as part of your Funk Farm project?
So,
which I think you're trying to say is, would you be using it in your sour facility? Is that kind of correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question. This is it's a Norwegian yeast, which kind of functions very differently than most commercial yeast strains. It ferments very quickly at very high temperatures, but you can make a variety of different beers with it. We don't use it. If you were to mix it with other things, and I believe that there are some commercial yeast suppliers that are mixing kind of this Quebec yeast with, if that's the correct pronunciation, or they're mixing it with things like lactobacillus, which would produce a sour beer. Mm-hmm. But the yeast itself does not produce it's not a sour profile. It's a clean beer profile. So there's some people who would be making. They could be making IPAs with it. They could be making. There's different things that you could make with it, but it would be typically a clean beer profile. And in terms of the separation of space, I wouldn't have a concern about using that yeast strain in our main production brewery, whereas there'd be other yeasts or other forms of microorganisms, bacteria, which I would not want to be using in our main production brewery.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
That seems to be kind of an issue with a lot of breweries, as you know. Infection is a big issue, isn't it?
Yeah, separation.
Here. I mean, I think this is a good time. Like, we're all here, we're chatting. Seamus is waiting to play a few tunes. Let Seamus play a couple of tunes, and we can come back on afterwards and have a little bit of a chat if you want to continue for another while.
Yeah. There's a good.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Let's have a bit of music. Break it up a small bit, and
let's introduce Seamus.
Let's all go for a pee-pee, because I'm bored.
Seamus, I'll go for a pee.
Seamus, you're out in Germany, man. You're originally from Cork, a fantastic musician, obviously.
I tell you now, Dave. I'm originally from Meath.
Are you Meath?
Oh, for fuck's sakes, man!
On you,
right.
Boys are great. Come on, you boys are great.
Yeah,
Seamus, did you roll into Cork on our fucking longboard as well?
I did. I rolled into Cork in 1999
with a guitar under the arm, probably more.
With a guitar under the arm and a great misunderstanding. A great misunderstanding of the local dialect.
Where in Meath?
Where in Meath? I'm originally from Gormanston, Stamullen area.
Gormanston, Stamullen. No way.
Yeah.
Some serious battles back in the days. Definitely fucking played G-Boys in football back in the day.
Oh, more than likely.
Serious battles.
James, you've been waiting long enough. Give us a couple of tunes, and we'll let you go off there, lads. Will you all mute your mic? Go ahead, Jim.
Yep. Sorry, just let me know if it's sounding all right, and do me a favor, okay? Because I've been streaming now for the last year. We've all been doing this sort of thing, but I haven't sang in front of a live crowd. Do you know what I mean? Like a real live crowd. Like I have.
You sound like you're from Dublin.
I'm on the border. Originally, Balbriggan, so that area. So I have that accent, So, but what was I saying? Just if you want to hear requests or just jump in between songs, whatever, because as I said, I've just been streaming on YouTube and Facebook for the last year, and it's great. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but there's a lack of interactivity, if you know what I mean. So it'd be great if you could just jump in between songs. It'd be great, you know.
Come here, man. Don't go on all night long, like, you know. 2 or 3 sentences. No, it's...
Daddy sits on the front porch swinging, looking out on the vacant field. Place will be filled with barley tobacco. Now he knows it never will. My brother found work in Indiana. Sister works in the old folks' home. Now I'm talking too much for supper. Lord, I've been a long time gone. Long time gone. Ain't hold a roll since I don't know it. Long time gone. Ain't coming back again. Delia plays the old church piano, sitting out on her daddy's farm. She always thought we'd be together. Lord, I never do the harm. Said she could hear me singing in the choir. Me, I heard another song. I caught wind, the road of running. Lord, I've been a long time gone. Long time gone. Ain't had a prayer since I don't know it. Long time gone. Ain't gone back again. Me and Dealey singing every Sunday, watching the children in the garden grow. Listen to the radio, oh, what's a cooking? But the music got no soul. Now they sound tired, but they don't sound haggard. They got money, they don't have cash. They got Judy, but they don't have Hank. Gone, I think, a long time gone. Ain't had a call, but I don't know when. Long time gone. Ain't coming back in a long time gone. Ain't had a roll since I don't know when. Long time gone. Ain't coming back again. Long time ago, ain't had a roll since I don't know when. Long time ago, ain't coming back again. What? So yeah, it's a bit Tim O'Brien, I tell you. Okay,
that was very good, very good.
Thank you very much. Let's do some cheese. But I do need a tune. 1 second. We'll do some early 2000s cheese. It's always good. Oh, God. Baby, can't you see I'm cold air? A guy like you should wear a woven air. It's dangerous. I'm falling. There's no escape. I can't wait. I need a head. Baby, give me it. Dangerous. I'm loving it. Too high, I can't come down. You need a head, spin 'em out and round. Do you feel me now? The taste of your lips, I'm on a run. You're toxic, I'm slipping under. The taste of a poison paradise, I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic? And I love what you do. Don't you know that you're toxic? It's getting late to give you up. I took a sip from the devil's curve, loving taking over me. Too high, I can't come down. It's in the air, it's all around. Can you feel me now? With the taste of your lips, I'm on run. You're toxic, I'm slipping under. Taste of a poison paradise. I'm addicted to you, don't you know that you're toxic? And I love what you do, don't you know that you're toxic? Intoxicate me now with your loving now. I think I'm ready. Oh, I think I'm ready now. Intoxicate me now with your loving now. I think I'm ready. Oh, I think I'm ready now. Intoxicate me now with your loving now. I think I'm ready. Oh, I think I'm ready now. Intoxicate me now with your loving now. I think I'm ready. Oh, I think I'm ready now. Oh, 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 oh. The taste of your lips, I'm on a run. You're toxic, I'm slipping under. The taste of your poison paradise. I'm addicted to you, don't you know that you're toxic? Oh, and I love what you do, don't you know that you're toxic?
Wow. Fuck me, Seamus. That was fucking fantastic.
Thank you very much.
We've already got like volunteers coming here, like offering to set up parts of gigs in Munich and stuff. But that's in the comments. But yeah, Seamus, you know what? You're gonna play us out. We're not done. Seamus is still gonna come back on, but we wanted to kind of try wrap things up here and thank Rick and Mark for coming on. It's been awesome, and thank you for John and Connor. Like that's really, really cool. So yeah, let's bring everyone back together for the final. Dave knows this from me. I always call it is my absolute bloody final. That's not going to happen. We're going to still make sure that we all have a good time. But yeah, Rick, thank you very much for coming on. It's been great.
No, thank you guys. Thank you guys for actually, for having us on. Always very appreciative, for the support that we get down in Cork. I think I remember the first time I was in, it was probably within a year of 2013, 2014. We were actually down in Cork and had our first, evening in the beer house there a long time ago. But no, look, be great to get down again. I think the last time I was there was probably 2 years ago at this point because of everything that's happened.
Sorry, Rick, to put in there. Was that the big red van you had? Was it?
We still have that big red van.
The big red van.
See, he came prepared. He came prepared. He was coming from Donegal. He got the right color.
That big red van is still going.
I love that van. I mean, you couldn't miss it.
So shall I reveal the other rye beer that nobody has gotten?
Yes. Yeah, please do.
Yes.
Please do, Rick, yeah.
And it's Swingle Tree.
Wow. Yeah.
Belgian saison. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Let's throw another question out there, Rick. we've got a couple of t-shirts as well. We've got to give away. So whoever, just give us something simple. Anybody who comments, basically on the Facebook or the YouTube channel comments, we're going to give them away a couple of these beautiful t-shirts. We're going to get it right around. So we got at least 2 of them. So maybe 3. I'm not sure what we got there. Oh, it's a lovely tea. So let's come up with something, anything at all, brewery related, something simple. Don't make it too difficult. We asked Ronan Russell for a question and he nearly killed people. Jesus Christ. Anyway, no pressure. What color is Mark's hair?
No, okay, well, who are
Comment tonight.
Okay, here's what it is.
I hope you can see the question there on the screen from Michelle McHugh. Like, she wants some Twitter bits.
Well, I think one is who are the 2 women that are the main drivers behind the brewery? First names will suffice.
Okay, very well done. Yeah, is one your wife?
And yeah, one's obviously the wife. I'm worried about who the other one is.
You wonder where it's the wellies. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're not.
No one's wearing wellies down in Cork, lads. So there's a soft place down here. Even Mark up in the corner is harder than these e-boys down here. Yeah, the job is harder than these. Yeah.
You're not originally from Utah. I mean, you told me you weren't from Utah. So how's this working?
What's this, Sean?
Lads, there's a lot of cutting across there. We got to put our hands
you're
up.
Not, like Rick, you said you're from the East Coast. Like, you're not from Utah. So what are you talking about? Like multiple women here. Like, I mean, come on.
Well, this is there are multiple. In this case, there are multiple women who are driving the brewery. Yeah,
he's right. Yeah.
Okay.
At least 2.
Okay. Let's get specific on the question, right? Okay. There's multiple women who do the day-to-day operations at Kinnegar, yeah?
Correct.
And we want, is it first names or second, or first names or names? First names. How many? 2 women. Okay.
2.
Okay. Can we give 1? We mentioned earlier. Libby, the wife, is 1. Where's the wellies? We want you to name the other one. We want to name the other one.
There you go.
Okay.
That's fine. Yep.
That's fair. All right.
Fair enough.
All right. Lads, John and Connor, thanks for coming on. You're in great crack.
Thanks, lads.
Great having you.
We had a few technical difficulties at the beginning.
Yep.
But we moved past that, and sure, look, what does it matter? It's just like a night in the beer house, and it can happen. Like,
this is like come here, Seamus, you should be introducing the band, like, that didn't play. Like, give it up for Mark from Grand Cru Beers.
Yeah, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. No, but what you guys don't realize is that we had the token ginger on tonight. So we've ticked all the boxes. We are politically correct. We are woke, man. Come on.
Jesus. Man, there's not much we can slag on these days. We probably get away with that. No, he's smashing the old ginger bucket.
Have you seen the clock?
So the next beer is going to be ginger bucket, is it?
Does anyone recognize the clock, lads?
No, already. It's too late.
Hold it up one more time, Mark.
I like the idea of ginger bucket. There might be something in that.
I like the idea of ginger bucket too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave.
That's you, Rusty. You're identical, Mark. That's you.
Ginger bucket is coming.
Anyway, boys, as I said to everybody, fantastic. It was great having you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
I mean, lads, we could go on for another 2 hours. The crack was mighty. I mean, if Seamus wasn't waiting in the wings for about a half an hour, we'd probably go on for another hour. The next episode is going to be 2 weeks away.
Okay.
We still don't know who it is. To be perfectly honest, we're working on someone. We're waiting on a confirmation.
But we have big news for a month's time. So, gentlemen, we have stuff lined up.
Yes,
and ladies.
Just watch out on Facebook. And we will give you the information. Right. As I said, everybody, John and Connor, Mark, Rick, thank you. And
thanks, guys.
And of course my co-host. Yeah, gotta thank him. Yeah, gotta thank him.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Have a great weekend, lads. And this is the St. Patrick's weekend. Sláinte.
Lads.
Cheers,
keep your glasses wet and crafty, and we'll let Seamus play us out with a couple of tunes, and we'll finish up the broadcast then, okay? Lads, all the way from Germany, one more time, Seamus Matthews' voice. Lads, will you all mute your mics? Thank you.
Thanks, lads.
Seamus.
Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, lads. I'll do 2 more tunes anyway, and mic gone? Oh, my mic's back. I'll do this one since Michelle asked for it. I've never sang it before, so let's see how we get on.
Cheers.
My house in Budapest, my hidden treasure chest, golden grand piano, my beautiful Casio. Ooh, 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 I'd leave it all. My acres of land I have achieved. It may be hard for you to stop and believe, but for you, ooh, ooh, I'd leave it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you hold me, then all of this will go away. My many artifacts, the list goes on. If you just say the words, I'll up and run, and you, I'd leave it all. Oh, up to you, I'd leave it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you hold me, then all of this will go away. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you hold me, then all of this will go away. My friends and family, they don't understand. They fear they'd lose so much if you take my hand, but you, you give it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you hold me, then all of this will go away. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you hold me, then all of this will go away. Right. I'm going to do one more tune. Okay. And if you don't mind, I'll put up my own advertising, if that's okay. So there's me and all my links. Okay. So we'll do one more song.
Don't worry.
So, one more time. Thank you all.
That song.
Yeah. Glad you enjoyed it. All right. So, we'll do one more. Thank you all very, very much. It was nice to actually play and have people in front of me, so that was cool.
Yes, man. Before you finish up, you might take the end there. Do you want to tell everyone about what you're doing online? And
so I tell you now, what I'm doing online is I've been doing since this time last year, actually. So I've been streaming. I was at the start of the whole pandemic. I was streaming twice a week, but right now I'm just streaming once a week, every Thursday night. I do a live cast on Facebook and YouTube at the same time every Thursday night. So I'll 1 second. I'll show. There's the links again, and so the Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Twitch and all that sort of crack. So I do it all there.
Very fancy crack altogether.
Oh, so God, yeah.
Hop on, support a fantastic musician.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Sir.
All right. Cheers, Seamus. Thanks a million, man.
Thank you, guys. I'll finish off with this one. Oh, mother of God, what's going on? Right, so we'll finish off with this one. Talking away, I don't know what to say. I'll say it anyway. Today is not my day to find you shying away. I'll be coming for your love anyway. Take on me. Take me up. I'll be gone in a day or two. Needless to say, I'm odds and ends, but that's me stumbling away, slowly learning that life is okay. Say after me, it's no better to be safe than sorry. Take on me. Take me up. I'll be gone in a day or two. Ya-da-da-da-ba-ba. The things that you say, is it delightful just to while my worries away? You're all the things I've got to remember, shying away. I'll never to be safe and sorry. Take on me. Take me up. I'll be gone in a day or two. In a day or two. In a day or two. In a day or two.
Fuck, I wish I could sing like you, man. Fucking hell, that's brilliant.
Seamus, thanks for bringing a bit of.
Yeah. You're very welcome, lads. You're very welcome.
Thanks for bringing a little bit of the beer house back to everybody tonight. I mean,
thanks.
It's many a year ago. Of course, you played in the beer house. I mean, since
it is, yeah. It's. I think the last, I left Cork in 2016 for Germany, so it's probably that year or 2015 was the last time I played in the beer house. So,
but you know, we couldn't get you. You were so popular in Cork, weren't you?
I was busy. Let's just say I was busy. Yeah,
you were always busy. Jesus, man.
I was lucky. I was very lucky that I always seemed to keep going like some. I was a lucky man.
It's Rick's turn under the House Flies Live logo.
Hiding under there.
Put the small man under there. All right.
God,
anyway, lads, fantastic. Thanks, Seamus.
You're very welcome, lads.
One more tune.
Okay. So if it's one more tune,
Clearwater, do you know where I am?
Okay, a bit of food.
A bit of foos, is it?
A bit of foos is the question.
All right, okay.
Because I must say, I love the Foo Fighters, so I'm like nominating that too.
All right.
Can I have a nomination?
That's fair enough.
Hang on, Dave has to have a nomination as well. Yeah.
No, Dave's the main man. Dave's the main man. Dave's the king.
Yeah, that's it.
I've got a conch.
We know beer house, so
I've got a conch. You know, don't ask me the name of the song, but it's kind of like it's a thing you used to do at the end of the night. It's kind of a jeez, how do you describe it? It's like
was it
Irish song.
Was it the parting glass? Was it?
Yes, parting glass. It's kind of Irish. It's traditional.
It is, yeah. I tell you what,
is it appropriate? I don't know.
Oh, it is, yeah. I tell you what,
yes.
I'll do the foos and then I'll do that tune. Is that okay?
Yeah. 2 more tunes.
All right, 2 more. Jesus. All right, mute your mics, lads.
You might
and by the way, this is free, so just all you fuckers appreciate this.
You must have Patreon or something. I meant to mute that one.
Right, let's do a bit of foos.
Baby.
Hello. Well, I've waited here for you.
Nice.
Ever long. Tonight, well, I pour myself into out of a red, out of her head. She said, da 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 da. Come down, and waste away with me, down with me. So how, well, you wanted it to be over my head, out of her head she sang. And I wonder, I'll sing along with you. Anything could ever be this real forever. Anything could ever be this good again. Only thing I'll ever ask of you, you gotta promise not to stop when I say when. She said, breathe out so I can breathe you in, hold you in. And now, well, I know you've always been out of your head, out of my head I sang. And I wonder, well, I'll sing along with you. Anything will ever be this real forever. Anything can ever be this good again. Oh, only thing I'll ever ask of you, you gotta promise not to stop when I say when. She said, only thing could ever be this real forever. Anything could ever be this good again. Only thing I'll ever ask of you, you gotta promise not to stop when I say when. She said, Aye. Thank you, lads. Thank you very much.
I love it.
All right. Right, so we'll finish off with one more song, and this for Dave, since Dave asked.
One more too.
One for the meat boys. Thanks, Seamus. This is probably going to be spinting, and this will bring back memories from many years ago.
Yeah. Do you know, this song, I know it from years and years and years ago. From I used to sing in the Franciscan Well years and years ago with a guy called Lorcan McMurray.
I know him well, yeah. Jeez, well, I don't know Lorcan, but every Monday night. Jeez,
every Monday night.
That's going way back.
Myself,
yourself, and Rachel Murphy down in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Jesus, many a pint we had on a Monday night.
I'm telling you.
Oh God!
So I learned this from Lorcan, and I knew it as basically it was a chieftains used to sing it, the chieftains, and they would sing it at funerals.
Okay.
And then sure, tis all taken over with what's his name, Ed Sheeran sang it, and then sure everybody sings it. So, but anyway. I started.
It's your version.
Yeah, this is my version. So yeah, we'll finish. I used to finish off every night now with this. So this is a song, an old Irish song of goodbye and farewell.
But you know what? You would. You know what? So I'm gonna let you play it. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
You would actually grab even the drunkest person in the beer house their attention when you would sing this. Am I fair?
Yeah. No, to be fair, yeah. I always loved this song for that. You know, like just people would go, huh? And as they say, even the most anchored person in the corner go, huh? Do you know what I mean? I said, what's going on there? Because pretty much because everyone else is quiet. Should I be quiet? Yeah. That sort of crack. But anyway, sure. Look, I'll finish off with this.
We'll be in touch, man. Thanks a million again.
You're very welcome, lad.
You're very good to us. Cheers.
Not a
come here. If you ever want to come back on again, by all means.
Oh no, I definitely will. Definitely. I would love to.
I'm booking him next week.
I ain't paying for him.
No.
Our budget's blown. Come here. Our budget's blown on the fucking Flash graphics and StreamYard and all that fucking shit.
I'm telling you, the graphics.
I didn't even realize we had a budget, so it's all good.
StreamYard graphics, man. Come on. These lower thirds don't pay for themselves.
All right,
lads.
Lads.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
So, of all the money I've had, well, I have spent it in good company. And of all the harm I have ever done, oh, alas, it was done none but me. Oh, and all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me, oh, the parting glass, oh, good night and joy be to you all. Oh, of all the comrades there I've known, well, they are sorry for my going away. And of all the sweethearts there I've had, well, they all bid me one more night to stay. Oh, but since it falls into my lot that I should go and you should not, I'll gently rise, oh, and softly call, oh, good night and joy be to you all. Good night and joy be to you all.
Eva, cheers. Thanks, man.
Good night, lads. Take care.
Good
Ciao,
night.
ciao.
Great chatting, Jim, man. Great chatting.
Thanks, Seamus.
Good night, guys. Mind yourselves. Be good.
You too. You too. All right.
Play it out.
Stay safe. Good night, Sharon. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, as we said. And thanks to everybody for watching. I know we went way over time, 2 hours and 24 minutes, our longest episode yet. And to anyone who stuck on to the very end, thank you. And look, we'll be in touch in the next couple of days when we confirm the next brewery for 2 weeks' time. Okay, Eva, Sláinte, and belated St. Patrick's Day. Sean, final word? No? Unmute. Say that again. You were muted there.
Sláinte, guys. Thank you very much. Can't wait. We have big things coming. So thank you very much.
Come on, Ireland tomorrow. We're going to stuff the English. That's the final word.
Go Ireland.
All right.
Stuff the English.
All right. Good night. God bless. And God bless crafty beer. Stay crafty.
Stay crafty.
Good night. That laugh is going to be legendary. It's like our end of broadcast.